Comeback fights are huge. Comeback fights for a Hall of Famer, comeback fights for a Hall of Famer in his hometown, huge deal. His also had the deck stacked against him. Whenever guys come back that have huge names and had great careers and can move the needle and can sell tickets, they all come back with the same idea in mind, which is everybody's going to be happy to see me back. This is going to be a really great moment for me. As a matter of fact, I am gracing you with my comeback. And they are largely right. That is largely how they are met and received by everybody except for the promoter. The promoter is looking for shelf life. The rule in this business is you pass the torch. No matter how great you were, you stay in it until somebody beats you and you pass the torch to that guy and then you exit stage left. Over your expiration date, a little bit bruised up, highly embarrassed, but that's the way it goes. So when Urijah comes back, look, man, we've seen this script 20 other times, 40 other times in sport. Guys come back, everybody's happy to see you, but the promoter's going to give you a young guy who's going to rough you up, shine up his own wheels, you're going to leave, and now that young guy gets a little bit of run. It's exactly what happened here. And Urijah I was very close to this fight. He got put in there with my teammate, Ricky Simone. Ricky Simone, one of the best fighters I have ever seen. I literally will go to practice early. The way it works at our gym is we go by weight class. So Ricky's smaller than me, so Ricky goes at an earlier time than me. I come on the back end of that, so I don't have to show up till 1 o'clock. I will literally show up at noon just to watch him. Just to watch him, to then be inspired for my own workout. He's that good. And he's got a record to prove it. He's won his last 8 fights, won all of his fights in the UFC. One of them was a fight of the night. One of them was over Hanayaya. I mean, great fighters. Ricky's touching them all up. Boom, 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 winning rounds. Performance of them. Doing a great job. So Ricky's going to go out and beat up Urijah Faber. That's just the way this goes. Urijah's been out for 2 years. Ricky's 20-some years old. That's just the way this goes. But here's the one thing that Urijah doesn't get credit for. And I want to make sure he does because he fully deserves this. Look, coming back, as much as that sounds like a good idea, when you start doing the actual training, you start cutting the actual weight, you start to question that decision. To follow through with that, let alone making the weight, doing it in your hometown. Okay, there is no home cage advantage. That can be an advantage in every other sport. Home field, home court. There is no such thing as a home cage. You're going to get extra media. You're going to have extra pressure. All your friends and classmates and families and neighbors that you've been telling how tough you are your entire life, now you got to walk out in front of them with your shirt off and prove it. Oh, and by the way, they're all going to hit you up for tickets. It's a complete pain in the ass. And the pressure is on you. Urijah dealt with it all. And the one thing about Urijah that was greatly underestimated is that he would give a damn. Let me give you an example. Over the last year, where Urijah has been out and away from the sport, he's competed in 2 grappling contests. One is Submission Underground, one he flew out to England and did Polaris. In both of those events, he took on world champions. So he walked into a sport that he doesn't know, hasn't done, thinks he can do well at, heard the rules, slapped hands and went at it. In both of those contests against world champions in a sport that he does not do, he made it the distance and they were very competitive. One was triple overtime. There's one in Polaris. I think they had like a point system and it went the distance. But the one in Polaris is more significant because he took on a young man named Nicky Ryan. Now, Nicky Ryan is the brother of Gordon Ryan. Nicky Ryan is the best grappler in the world. But Nicky Ryan is only 19 years old. So nobody wants to, I apologize. Nicky Ryan is 18 years old. He is still in high school. Where this becomes relevant is Nicky can't get any matches. Unless he enters a tournament where it's a drawn bracket and the guy has to go out and face him, or an Abu Dhabi where everybody's there and they have to go out and perform or face utter shame, they simply will not agree to take him on because he's a high schooler. So you are going to be greatly embarrassed if you're a grown man and a high schooler gets the jump on you in any sport, but particularly in combat. Urijah couldn't have cared less. That was the guy that wanted to wrestle. That was the weight class. That was who the promoter offered. He jumped on a plane, went out and took him. A Hall of Famer, put it all on the line. He doesn't look at it that way. It's just a chance to compete. Nobody else would take on Nicky. Go ask Nicky. Go ask Coach Danaher. How many matches can you get? Everyone says no for this very reason. You're going to take on a high school kid who's the best guy in the world. He's going to beat you. If you're in this world and he's the best guy in the world, you're coming in with the silver medal, right? Those things just don't bother you. Sure enough, Urijah went and battled him, went to the distance, got the silver medal, lost to a high school kid. Couldn't have cared less. Didn't bother him in the least. Wasn't embarrassed. Was not let down. Got exactly what he wanted, which was a good, hard match and a little bit better at something, in this case, submission grappling. And that was a little bit underestimated. Urijah just, 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4 with Urijah. Things that we've seen before, things that are obvious, and you could see this right at the weigh-ins. Right when he took his shirt off and got face-to-face, you could take one look at him, judge the book by his cover. I mean, it looks like a statue carved out of stone. Does not look like a guy who's missed a step. And it was a hard fight. It was a very short fight. It was 40-some seconds, but it was a hard fight. And one of the other things that happens with time is your timing and your ability to take big shots. And right out of the gate, boom, Ricky hit him hard. Oh, Ricky hit him so hard. You're right, took the shot. I was sitting at home going, my God, I can't believe he just took that. And Ricky followed up a little bit. And Coach Fabiano told me that in the fight, Ricky was talking to Urijah. He said that Ricky does that all the time. I've never noticed that. But he said that after Ricky hit him, he knew Urijah wanted to throw a right hand. So he told Urijah, I see you setting up that right hand as Ricky's throwing shots at him. I know you want to throw that right hand. Somewhere in there, Uriah's like, hey, that's a really good idea, boom, and threw a right hand. So all in all, I think it was just a really good contest. I don't think that either guy slipped. I know Ricky's down in the depths. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Anybody would be. There's a post-fight depression, win or lose. He had some major momentum. He probably feels like it was stopped. I don't see it that way. 2 years ago, Ricky wasn't in the UFC. 18 months ago, they didn't know who he was. Now he's won 3 fights, fight of the night, and just made a co-main event. And your placement on the card is very relevant. And Ricky's placement on the card is only going up. Easy for me to say. When you're a young man and you get on that kind of run and you got a Hall of Famer in front of you and it's a big opportunity, you see things differently. I get it. But that really is the reality, and soon he will come to the same conclusion that I did, that his career, incredible trajectory. When you step out there, it's not very good odds. You have a 50% chance of failure. You tip your hat to Urijah. He got his shine, and Uriah's back. And don't forget, when Urijah left this sport, he left on his turn. He was doing great. He hadn't lost to anybody that wasn't a world title fight in a number of years. Then all of a sudden, he lost a fight that wasn't a world title fight, which in his world was like, oh boy, I guess I don't have it anymore. He's wrong. He was grading himself too hard. But he did leave on his own terms. When you come back at 40 years old, and you step in there with a prospect who is not a household name and you're a Hall of Famer, if you go down, you're now leaving, but it's no longer on your terms. So there was a lot of pressure there. There was a lot of things that went into this. And he passed all the tests. You have to tip your hat to that. It's sportsmanship. It's the minimal level that you can do, but you're required to do it. So great job to Urijah. Now, also some fun out of that. And I like the fights, guys, but I also like the drama that comes with them. I like the storylines that get built. And it was interesting because Henry Cejudo, by name, called out Urijah Faber. I think Henry's looking for name guys. He said as much in the same interview. He said, I'm a prize fighter and I want to get paid. I have a problem in that division, which is I don't have all these huge names, but there's a guy coming back named Urijah Faber, so go get a win and come see me. That works for me. And I realize people are going to push back if Urijah goes right into a title shot, and I'm not even predicting for you that he will. But every number of years, sometimes we have to go off of the rankings. And while not making sense, it still makes sense. I mean, to give you an example that happened years ago that made sense while not making sense was Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping was the champion of the world. Dan had lost like 6 fights of his last 7. But he knocked out Hector Lombard, he got a big win, and Bisping wanted that fight. Bisping did some heavy lifting. He stepped in with Rockhold. He got in there with Tim Kennedy. He took out Anderson Silva. He did some heavy lifting. He wanted that win, or that fight back, wanted to get a win over Dan Henderson, and he said as much. He was the champion of the world. He wanted a favor. It was going to be Henderson's last fight. Put them in there together. It made a level of, well, not making sense, right? Because it had already, you can't say Dan doesn't belong in there. He'd already been in there with him, and he won. Turned out to be a absolutely fantastic fight. If you talk about Urijah versus Cejudo, I don't give a damn that he's been out. He just beat a guy who's been in. Okay, in this sport, if you beat a guy, you take everything that he did. Doesn't work that way in other sports. Okay, if a team wins, if the Patriots win Clay, who's the defending Super Bowl champion? So the Patriots?
Patriots.
The Patriots? Okay. Patriots are defending Super Bowl champions. The next game they play, the championship's not on the line. Doesn't work that way in other sports. You got to win at a specific day called the Super Bowl, right? You understand what I'm saying? In fighting, it doesn't work. If a guy has a championship, every time he fights, that's on the line. So if Urijah if you want to tell me Uriah's been out, if he just beat a guy who's been in and been on a roll, Urijah just took that. It's the way it works. In conjunction, if you have Cejudo saying, that's who I want, it's interesting. You cannot just totally deny it. You simply can't. And I know that many of you will. That's why I'm saying it. Just don't forget the rule of this sport. If you beat a guy, you take whatever it is he has. If he's got an interim championship, you take it. If he's got the world championship, you take it. You take whatever he has. That's the way this sport works. So you cannot tell me Urijah's been out if he just beat a guy who's been in. You can't tell me Urijah's record in his last few fights, which I don't even know off the top of my head, if he just beat a guy that was undefeated in the organization. The way this sport works is he takes that. So now Urijah's been undefeated for the last X amount of time. It's the way it works. If Cejudo wants him and the fans want to see it, and you add, in fact, Cejudo's point, which is that's the biggest name in the division, and you add into the fact of the history of that gym with Cejudo, and there is one. I mean, TJ Dillashaw was part of that gym. You can talk about whatever you want. They all trained together. Cejudo got over on him. Benavidez is still part of that gym. Benavidez and Cejudo fought. Benavidez got over on him. And maybe a spot where Urijah's like, look, I'd love to take the fight. I can't take it because it's Joseph's. I don't know. I don't want to speak for him, but I'm saying if you're looking for a storyline, you got one. And I have a feeling you're going to push back. I'm not even a proponent I'm just sharing with you guys what I saw. I have a feeling that the pushback to that fight, as much as people really would want to see it, they still have to come back and go, that's not the right fight. And he's been out. And he's only won one fight in 12 months. And you can't just put Urijah in. Don't forget the rule of this sport. You beat a guy, you took whatever he had. Urijah beat a guy on a 3-fight win streak. Urijah takes it. It's the way it goes. Consider that. I won't make your mind up for you, but consider that because it's a very good possibility. If the fans want to see it, I think we could get it made.